So we're back again, and again, just to mention at the bottom of the video, you'll find you expand the description. You'll see we've got this meeting is indexed, and you'll see the chapters, and the chapters show up on the video at the top. And then we've got the big composite index that's got like 4.5 years of indexes from these meetings we do. And it's got the old ROS agriculture index that I started one time. That's on there, and there's couple other things I can never remember what they are. So anyway, that's available there, and that description gets copied into the big composite. That's what forms the composite index. If you go out and open that, and then the stuff on Slack does not have the description in anymore. I just simply have a link there that points out to the index. So it forces you to go out and use the index in order to see what we did. And that's got good points and bad points, but that's just the way it's working at the moment. Another thing, speaking of that, we were talking about the fact that this mowers.com was taking our information and pretending that they're part of our group and part of our meetings. And at one point I thought, well, if when I post the video, if I just simply say, don't allow people to embed this into their stuff. And I thought, well, maybe that would stop them from doing it. And for a couple of weeks, it did look like it stopped them, but it also stopped me from going to Slack and posting. If I post the link to the meeting, it'll put up a preview, so that just an eye-catching thing that people can see. And it prevented me from doing that. So I turned the embedding back on. And then all of a sudden I noticed that mowers.com just picked up and started using our stuff again. So I've got the option. I could say don't allow embedding, and that might stop them forever. But then I can't post it to Slack, which isn't not really the end of the world, but that because once you click on the index has the image. So for some reason I can go out and grab that and avoid this whole embedding thing. So anyway, that was just something else that had come up on that. So let's see. And other than that, that was the whole intro to, look at the description, and that's how the stuff kind of ties together. And one of these days I could just go through and say, here's what the different things are you can see, and here's how you get to them, and this is how they tie together, which I don't think I'll do that in a moment. I'm going to go into the Slack backup today because I want to pull up a picture that Bob had posted one time. So I'll go through the steps on that just so you can see what that is. So let's see what's else on my list here. I was saying for the last couple of weeks I was going to modify my desk because I had a full flat screen TV sitting on top of a trash can behind my table, so I could use that as a big monitor. And I went ahead and swapped out the tabletops, and now I've got my flat screen TV sitting on my table right now, and that's working out for me. So that I was just going to mention that I'd done that. So one of the things was I was thinking about putting my Raspberry Pi into my robot because I've been using a laptop on the thing, and at one point I had a Raspberry Pi 3 bolted into one of the electronics boxes on the thing. And here, before I go on, I just switched to the screen view, and the people on the meeting don't know that I did that. But if you go back and watch the recording, you'll see when I switch from gallery view to screen view, it actually changes on the recording. So it just got a picture of me talking right now. And if I switch back to gallery view, now it's got a picture of me and Al on there. But for Al and Bob, they can't see what I'm doing because that's just the way Zoom seems to work. So I'll go back to the speaker view again. And of course, now it distracted me. I forgot what I was talking about. Desk modifications, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so at one point I had a Raspberry Pi 3 bolted into my robot as opposed to a laptop. And I had that in there. And just I got tired of the fact that I thought, this would be much easier to do on a laptop. I got better, it's faster, and I got better resources. So I took the Raspberry Pi out and just put a laptop on top of the robot. And so I was thinking right now, if I go back to a Raspberry Pi, because it's now a pain to have to take my mainline laptop, unplug all the cables, put it on the robot, and hook all the cables up and drag all that stuff around. That way it'd be handy to just have a permanent computer bolted into it. So I was going to put my Raspberry Pi 4 into the electronics box, and it should have the holes. You should bolt right in. So as long as the cables aren't going to be in the way when I do that, that I should be able to go in and do that. And I was thinking, well, it would be handy if, since it's the bottom electronics box, and I don't have to tear it completely apart to go in and hook up a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse to be able to configure that board. So I thought what I could do is if I bolt the thing in there and then run an extension cable out and put a connector on the side of the box, so I can just walk up with my HDMI cable and plug it into the side of the box without having to tear anything apart. That might be a handy thing to do. So what I was doing is I went out to Amazon, was looking for options. And let's see if I do this, share screen. And I'm going to share the screen. And go ahead and grab this. Bring it over here. Do this. And of course, there's going to have all this crap in the way I have to drag out of the way. Let's bring this over here. Bring here. What's it say my outgoing looks like? It says zoom. Okay, that should be what I want to see. So drag this out of the way. Okay. Now, there might be something at the bottom of the screen. It won't let me drag it to my other screen just to make me mad. So anyway, so I currently, in order to make my Raspberry Pi work, I have to plug an HDMI monitor into it. So a long time ago, I bought something similar to this. That's not the one I have. If I do here, if I was thinking about this quicker, stop share. So anyway, so on my Raspberry Pi, it's just this little cable right here. It's like a 6-inch adapter that's got micro HDMI on one end, and it's got full size HDMI on the other end. So I can plug a monitor into this connector. And the other thing I was going to bring up, I said I got to go into the Slack backups. Let me do that right now. So if I say, how do I do this? Now I'm totally confused. I need to get my browser screen. Where'd my browser screen go? It's got to be right there in front of me. I do an alt tab. Okay, that brings up. Here, let's do this. Okay, I'm back again, and I just lost my browser screen again. So let's see, Alt Escape. There we go. So from a browser, if I say go out to my Samson-Jeff.com ROS Agriculture, this is where I put all the stuff. So here's the two these first two lines are the index for the meetings we're doing now, and down here is the stuff for the ROS Agriculture index. And here's one called Slack exports. So if I click on Slack exports, it takes us to a directory that shows us here's the 5 chunks of Slack that I've backed up. And if I go to the most recent one, and here's the directory, and if you click on an HTML file in here, if you look at the bottom of the screen down here in this area, when you go here, it says this one's called random.html. The next one's a directory that just has random stuff in it. And I don't remember what these other files are. Right now, we don't care. I just want to open the HTML file. And that brings up something that looks like the Slack screen. So this is the one for a time period of 5/26 through 8/22. So this is the most recent backup I just did. And here's a picture that Bob posted. And if I click on it, it brings up the picture. And this is his Raspberry Pi 5. And you can see he's got a web camera plugged in here. And he's got a little adapter for his USB keyboard. And then here's his power cable coming in for USB-C. And he
Jeff, you're not sharing.
Boy, that's let me back up here then. Let me say la 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 la. Yeah, let me go to there, and let me back up one more. Well, that's not what I wanted either, but that'll still work. So share screen and say desktop 2. That's what I've got right now. So theoretically, here, let me try to move this off the screen.
Firefox.
Yeah, it still won't let me move my thing that says that I'm sharing. It won't let me move it off the screen for some reason. So that's annoying me. So anyway, if I come into a browser and I go into my Samson Jeff ROS.com, ROS Agriculture. That's my main collection of stuff for what we're doing here. So we'll go through this again. The top one is the meeting index for what we're doing right now. This is that. If I click on that, see that brings up the this is the standard 4.5 year index of everything that's going on. And see it's got the pictures of the got the thumbnails in there, and it goes all the way back to the very first meeting we did in 2021. And that's the first meeting we did. Anyway, the point is you can get to the index from there. And if I come down here, the point is if I come down to Slack exports and click on that, then here's the 5 chunks of stuff I've backed up for Slack. And what I want is I want the most recent one we did. And as soon as I open that one, you come in here, you can click on any HTML file you find in here, and here to push that point, go to the first one we did. This is like 2 years of stuff before they really started messing with us. And under here, if you look at the bottom of the screen down here in this area, it tells you, if you hover over it, it shows you what that is. So this one says, this is the common channel, the common ECU channel. It's an HTML. And you come down, this is the general channel at HTML. So anything that's an HTML file, you should be able to open that directory directly. So here's the very first stuff we posted out to Slack. And it's got, you know, the stuff that's quite old, like 2 to 3 years old at this point. And you can't click on these. See, normally if I were to go to random, you click on it, it's going to say, oh, can't find it. And that's something about the way it works. It's not linked together well enough. But from here, if you want to get to, say, the random channel, if I back up one and come down here where it says random, it'll be this one. See at the bottom, it says random HTML. So I click on that, and that puts me in the random channel. I say, there it is. So there's the random channel from day one of this whole thing. And again, you can't switch to general because it says that doesn't work, but you can always come back and select them. You can open all these at the same time if you want to. So you can come in here. I can open, say, common HTML or general HTML and random HTML, which I think was already opened, and RTK HTML. So at this point, I just come in here and are they there? Oh, it didn't do what I wanted. It opens them one at a time, and when I open the next one, they go away. So I guess that didn't prove the point. But you can open all of these at the same time, and then just on the tabs at the top. Assume if you always say open in a new, or just to prove that point, we've got one for RTK open right now. So let me go back and open the one for, say, random and say open in a new tab. So now if I go look at it, here's the Slack random. And of course it didn't work. So somehow you can do that. You can open them all at the same time, and then just by selecting your tabs across the top, you can pick the one you want. So that's how you get around that problem. You can't go here and click on, say, general and make it work. You have to go open that channel. But if you have them all open, then you can switch back and forth. So anyway, that's just kind of a side note there of how this stuff works. Let's go back to the point was I wanted to go out one. So I want to take the stuff from our most recent backup. And then it says here, this is the HTML file for random. So I open that. And there's the stuff that for our most recent backup starting on 5/26 of this year up through 8/22, which is a few days ago when I updated this. And here's this picture of Bob's. Am I sharing this time?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. I don't want to do the whole thing again if I'm not sharing. So here's a picture of Bob's Raspberry Pi 5. Here's this thing at the bottom. I'm going to try to move this one more time. It will not let me move off the screen. So we'll put it over here. And that may or may not show up. I don't know. So here's Bob's Raspberry Pi 5. He's got a web camera plugged into it. Here's his little adapter for his USB keyboard. And here's his USB-C power cord coming in. And then he's got his HDMI. He's got his big HDMI cable plugged into just a little adapter. So it's got micro HDMI on one end and the full-size HDMI, and then adapts the two together. But you'll notice here, this is the value of saving all this stuff. We come and look at it, it almost doesn't fit. The adapter is too wide to fit between the USB-C and his adapter. And which brings up a point. The next time you fire this up, try plugging it into this connector, plug it into the
Oh, sure.
second monitor, and it may be smart enough when it powers up to say, oh, I've only got one monitor, and go ahead and work normally. So that's something you can try out. If not, well, you can leave it like this without plugged in. So
Yeah.
what I did, I thought about this, 2 years ago when I got my Pi 4. So I got that little board, or that little cable that's got, this. I can't show you that right now. Anyways, it's got micro HDMI on one end. It's got a 6-inch cable and then a full size connector out here. So that way I don't have problems with the clearance problem there. So this is one advantage of having the Slack backup. You can go back and pull up stuff that we did, because here's all the here's Al's radio transmitter, remote control, and here's this is the way this stuff used to look like us on Slack, where we'd put up the preview of the video and then have the full description in here. And then when I said don't allow embedding, this wouldn't show up anymore. And I fought with that for like 2 months and finally figured out, oh, I caused that problem by saying don't allow embedding. So that's the advantage of having the Slack backups. And I should just go through and do a video and say, here's our Slack channel. Here's how I'm backing it up, and go through the steps I was just doing, and try to figure out how to get them all open at the same time. Like I just tried to do it, it didn't work. So anyway, here's that picture I saved to Bob's thing. So keep this as a visualization. Why we don't have to do that. Just go here and close this. Slack exports, close that. And so here's that. And then I'm going to say stop sharing. It's back on, stop sharing. So on mine, you'll notice that this is a Pi 4. It looks about like a Pi 5, but it's a Pi 4, and it still has the two micro HDMI connectors. But see, it's got this cable is just like a 6-inch cable, and it brings out to a full size HDMI. So I don't have the clearance problems because I've got the two connectors plugged into the board. And then that brought up the next problem. And then I thought, if it's bolted inside of my box, I still have to tear the whole thing apart to get into the box and hook up the monitor cable and plug in the keyboard and the mouse and all that stuff. And I thought, well, what might be handy is if I put an extension cable on that. So what I decided to do was, let's see, we're going to go through this again. This isn't going to work, so we'll see what happens. Do this, and okay. Oh, I did get back to where I want to be. So let me say, take this again, try to drag it off the screen. It won't let me. Okay, so I'll leave that down at the bottom, which you may or may not be able to see. So here's that. And so basically what I first did, that I went and bought a cable that was like this. This isn't the cable that I have. Mine, this part of, stop it. So this part of it right here isn't as long as this one, which for what I'm doing doesn't matter. Mine's only about this long, and it doesn't have the big long part on it. But something else I know, this might be my imagination, but it seems like if you buy a cable that's got the solid plastic coating on, it's stiffer than if you buy these newer ones that have the cloth coating. So I attempt to buy the ones with the cloth coating when I buy cables these days. And that, again, that might just be my imagination. But this basically is what I am running. I just have one of these kind of cables, one of these adapters, and see, it was like $6 or something, and that's what I used, and that solved my clearance problem. So the little HDMI, the micro HDMI, will fit alongside the USB-C connector, and then it's got brings out where I can plug into it. So that would be handy if I could say bring that out of the box. So I started doing some digging. I didn't want that one yet. We'll just look at this one. So this one right here. And this one gives you, well, no, that's not the one I want here. Here, let's look at this one. So this one it's just an extension cable. So it's got the full size HDMI at one end, and I can't do that either. Is this how you do that? There we go. So now I can get the picture and point at the same time. So it's got a one end, it's just an extension cable. So it's got the male HDMI here that will plug in that little short adapter I have. On the other end, you can do a panel mount HDMI. So if you cut a rectangular hole in the side of your box and then drill 2 holes, you can actually bolt this to the side of your box. So you can walk up with your monitor and plug right into it. And that would solve part of those problems. And when you buy these, you can get them in You have to go dig in. This one's this happens to be a 1 foot or 30 centimeter. So it's a 1 foot cable. So you don't have a big roll of cable rolled up inside your box. So this would work. And I see this one's about almost $10. And I think the next one here basically is it's the same thing, and it's just slightly it's about $7.50 for the same thing. So basically, these are the same cable. And here again, it's got the solid plastic on it, which again, maybe it's my imagination, but it just seems like the cloth ones are more flexible. So you can get this. So inside of my box, I could have my little short cable plugged into this connector, and then this would be bolted to the side of my box. So that way I could just walk up and plug my monitor in and not have to tear anything apart. And I did some more digging, and you can also get the same thing with a round connector. Let's do this again. So you can get the round one. So you just drill a round hole in your box, you push it through, and it's got a big nut to hold it up against the side of the box. And this is a full size to full size. And so it's doing the same thing. And again, this one happens to be look up here, it says it's a 1 meter cable. So that means I'd have a big loop of stuff thrown inside my box. And if you dig far enough, you can find this as a 12 inch or 1 foot cable. And so that's yet another option. You know, what else did I have here? And here's one again that it's a short one that goes from full size to full size with a round connector on the thing. So you got the round connector. These are nice too, because it comes with this thing. You put this over the thing when you bolt it down, so you got a cover, so it looks like it's even screws on, so you can screw the cover on so you don't get mud and dirt and grass and stuff in the thing. So that might be another advantage to getting something like this. And then I noticed that, oh, here's another one that's a full size to full size, and it's a panel mount rectangular. This happens to have a flat cable, and sometimes the flat cable is more flexible depending on what you're trying to do. So that's, you know, if it matters to you, you can either buy the round cable or the flat cable. And this one happens to be a 1.5 foot. So the other ones I was looking at were either 1 foot or 1 meter, seem to be the size, or you can get up to a 3 meter cable, which is really getting long. And this one just happened to be a weird one. It's a 1.5 foot. So it's in between. So another example is if you're going to use a Pi 3, I believe a Pi 3 has the full size connector right on the board. So this could plug right into your Pi 3 and come right out the side of the box without any adapter cables in between. Or you could always go back to, you know, get that and then use this type of adapter cable. And if you happen to have a Pi 0 for some reason, I believe they have the mini HDMI, just more adding the confusion. So instead of having this micro HDMI connector, it would have a mini HDMI connector. So by swapping out this adapter cable and then going with any of these that are long, just male to female full size, then that way you can mix and match this stuff to get what you want. And I didn't want to have the 6-inch cable on my board and then have another cable that was, say, 3 to 6 feet long wrapped up. So you can get this one. This is 1.5 meters, and this one's I believe 12. They don't say here, but this is the one I think is 12 inches long. So by having a 12-inch cable and a 6-inch cable, that's enough room inside of my box to get it to the edge, and then I don't have a lot of extra cable I have to deal with. And then what was this one? This is one of the first ones I found. Maybe you can get a micro HDMI. Maybe you can get a micro HDMI directly to the full size and make it panel mount. And sure enough, you can buy that. It was only for this. This one happened to be a foot long. This is exactly what I wanted. And it's only $4.99, but they want to charge me $9 shipping and take 2 or 3 weeks to get it. So I assume it's coming directly from China. So I gave up on that one. But this way, you could just have a single cable. So this could actually plug directly into your Pi 4 or Pi 5 and just have the panel mount connector. You just bolt that on the side of your box. So again, just mixing and matching this stuff. And another interesting thing I found was you can get this type of thing. So it's got the round connector from the side of the box, and it's got the full size HDMI, and it's got a USB-C built into it. So the other end has the micro HDMI that'll plug into a Pi 4 or Pi 5 directly. And see, this happens to be a 3-foot cable. So it's, again, you're going to have extra cable inside your box to wrap up. And then it's also, basically, it's just a male to female USB-C. So if you have a way inside your box to generate USB-C, There was discussion about whether the power connector on a Raspberry Pi 5 will also act as a regular USB port. And if it would, you could actually, put power in here and talk to it at the same time. But anyway, just keep in mind, you can get these that have multiple types of connectors out here. So again, just by doing enough digging, wasting enough time on Amazon looking for this stuff, you might be able to find exactly what you want and get a cable that drops right in and does what you want. And when I got all done with this, I finally realized that, well, this is just, it's basically like a window dressing. It's just adding more features that I don't absolutely have to have. Because right now I could just turn my whole thing apart, hook up a keyboard, mouse, and a monitor, configure the thing, and then put it all back together, and just talk to it with SSH or NoMachine. Pardon me. I might have to pause here for a second. Pause share. Hopefully this doesn't kill it. Okay, so it should be paused right now. It's acting stupid. Hold on a second here. Let's say, and then let me minimize this.
Still says recording on my end if you were trying to pause recording.
It does say that. Okay, stop share. Now my cursor. And pause. Okay, so I tried to recover. I drank some pop and maybe I can talk again. So I was pointing out that I could go to all this trouble, but I realized that it's really just a waste of time and money. I'd be better off just tearing the whole thing apart, configuring the Raspberry Pi, and putting it back together, and then talk to it with either SSH or SSH with PuTTY or something, or run NoMachine or some other desktop sharing type stuff. And because it comes back to the fact that you're building this stuff, and I could add this cable to the outside to make it real convenient. And I could add a solid state drive to my Raspberry Pi to make it run faster and give me more storage. But that these are things you don't really need to start adding a lot of stuff onto it, because you take a Raspberry Pi and a flash card, you put the two together, and it will work at that point. I don't have to have, and this one has a fancy cooling fan on with a radiator and a fan that's got multicolor LEDs that, just a simple fan, or a Pi 4 it'd probably run without a fan at all. So that I finally came to the conclusion, after wasting several hours on Amazon finding all these cable solutions, that I don't really have to have this right now. So I kind of gave up on that and decided to move on. So anyway, I'll post the links to all those cables that I found if anybody else wants to go down that path and be inspired by that, so you don't have to retype all those links. So let's see, I talked about HDMI cables. I think I had mentioned that I modified my desk, so my television is sitting on my table now. And one other thing, I see that Al and Bob are both running NoMachine as their desktop, remote desktop software. And I looked at it and it wasn't obvious to me. They wouldn't come right out and say, can I just connect two machines side by side on my table and talk to each other? And I don't want to have a situation where I have to go out to, say, a server in, say, New York or Chicago or somewhere in China in order to, talk to my computer right next to me. And I also don't want to have to create an account and, give away all my secrets and have them tracking me while I'm running all this stuff. So I was just going to ask either Al or Bob to go through and just give us a quick, the quick key points on that, and tell us, what you can expect. If I go to the trouble to download the software, will it do what I want it to, or is it going to be a pain? So I'll ask if somebody wants to give a quick.
You're better qualified.
There we go. Now we're not muted. So these are some notes that I had. I'll copy these and paste them into the chat, because there's some URLs there that are useful. So let's look at the chat now.
They,
So to answer your specific question about do you have to have an account, my recollection is you do not have to have an account. And if you have two machines on the same network, you'll be able to connect to them without going through somebody else's server. So
That's what I assume too.
so that's basically what I needed to know right there, is that answers my two questions. But if you want to mention anything about, is it simple to set up? Is it, did you find any useful links for doing this stuff, or, anything like that would be handy.
yeah, I didn't find any useful YouTube videos on how to do it.
And before we go on, let me point out the whole point of this NoMachine is like real VNC. It's a thing where on one computer you connect the other one, it shows you the full desktop. But real VNC, they started charging for that, and this happens to be one that's still free. So that's what the whole point of this NoMachine software is. Okay, I'll let you go back to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think NoMachine lets you have up to 5 nodes before they start, they want to charge you, or maybe 20, I forgot. But it is, for non-commercial use, it's still free. What I put in the chat were some commands, because getting NoMachine software on the RPi, as an example, is a little bit complicated. Let me just share my screen again. And right now, I'm only using NoMachine to go from a Windows machine to a Windows machine. I don't need the full GUI when I'm messing around with my RPi. I still use PuTTY or File. Is it FileZilla? If I need to transfer files, or I primarily use PuTTY to just get to the command line. But back to the a couple of tips on if you want to get to the GUI of the RPi, you have to put, let's just go back to the very first section. You got to get to the Raspberry Pi version. And for an RPi 4, come on.
Yeah, that wasn't obvious to me. It just said top, it said download. Maybe you click on that download link, then it'll give you different options there.
Yeah.
But I didn't go down the path not knowing what I
Yep, there it
wanted
is.
to do.
You click on Linux.
Yeah, that says Linux. I
Oh,
thought there was one specifically
there's
for
Pi.
the RPi. And you got to check out which architecture you actually have. Is it AArch64 or ARM64? And I think if you go look at my chat, yeah, you said RPi 5 or 4. I was running a 5, and I'm trying to see what I had. The ARM64 Debian, and there's the wget command that I used last. So I would have 9.1.24 ARM64. Yeah. So if you hover over the download button, you can see in the lower right hand or lower left hand corner, you get that HTTPS command.
Yes.
So I would, copy that link, and then I would build my wget command using that link. I'm going back to the chat here for a second.
If you run that directly from your Pi, can you just say
Yeah.
download and let it run that and not have to?
Yes, that's what this wget command, I ran that from the RPi. That was the simplest way. I puttied into the RPi and then ran this command. And it obviously had internet connectivity when I did that. The reason I just copied that is because these version numbers will change, and it looks like it's still the same the last time I ran it. But so this wget command that I put in the chat would work to download it today, until they change it.
And the point is because you're going in or SSH, you had to use the wget. So,
Right.
but if I have a monitor on my Pi, I'm assuming I can just click the download command and it will work. But I'm about to find out, I guess, when I go play with this. So I'll know.
Yeah, and I think I went through this because I was running headless and just puttied into it or SSH'd into it. That was the deal. But then I got it to work, and then I realized that I don't actually want to get to the GUI on the RPi anymore anyway. But that is just me, because for the RPi, I just stick to the command line, which is, I think I have had to take it off once to fire it up to see what the problem was. And I think, anyway, I've been able to get by without having to, I've been able to run it headless and not had a problem. But to your original question, yeah, the NoMachine guys don't require you to log on or have an account with them. But as well, they don't offer a VPN service and to be able to remotely access it when you have two computers on two different networks.
Okay. So maybe I'll try that this afternoon. Go ahead and load that stuff up and just see if I can get that to work. And my whole reason for putting a desktop version on the computer in the first place is I don't want to have to spend weeks and weeks digging through to find out the right command line stuff when I just go to say the desktop and say click on Wi-Fi, do this, and it's set up and ready to go. And so at least for configuration, I really want a desktop in front of me when I do that. But then once it's running, probably I could get by with just, doing a command line or SSH. That would probably be reasonable. So, but I'll see as I move on here how I want to do that.
And then on the machine where you want to be I'm going to call it the master and the RPi as the slave, you're just going to add, you're going to give it a name, and your host is going to be the IP address on your local network. So it's dirt easy on adding the connection and getting to it once you're done. Don't change this 4000. That's their standard, or the protocol. That's their standard.
So a question on, I understand the host, and that would be the IP you want to go to, but the name, does it have to be the name of the machine, or it can be an arbitrary number?
It can be an arbitrary name.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
kept getting confused about that.
I just start mine with, for me, I start with what city is the computer in. And this is just my home Windows 10 machine sitting in my basement. Because I have my laptop here with me. I happen to be in Texas, and this is the only machine I have that will run Fusion 360. So that's why I remote and want to get to the GUI of that machine. But anyway, I digress. Anything else on NoMachine, Jeff?
That's encouraging enough to know that it'll do what I want. And since you got some notes there, I can go through that and hopefully it'll just all work. That's all I needed to know, I guess.
Well, Bob, it's going to be a short week. Over to you. I don't have anything to update. I'm doing cow stuff and insurance stuff, and hadn't had a time to work on my robot this week. So over to you.
Well, last couple of weeks I've been looking at as many videos as I can about using a keyboard to control servos and a camera. I found one that I liked, and maybe I can turn this thing around. I'll turn the camera around on the iPad.
We're not seeing your video. Is your
Okay,
video?
first I gotta share, right? Share, and then share my screen.
Well, normally we should see a
Oh.
picture of you talking, and we're not seeing that. So either
Oh, okay.
your video start stop, maybe you're just not showing video.
Oops. Okay, I'll turn that on. Okay, now share.
Well, I
still don't see it. Yeah.
If you just want to use the camera on the iPad, you shouldn't have to share anything. It should be, we should be seeing a picture of you talking, and we're not seeing that.
Okay.
So on Zoom, usually you got the mute button and the stop video button. And
right.
Your video is stopped.
So I'll start the video.
There. Okay, now it's working.
Okay.
So just point your iPad at whatever you want, and we should be able to see it.
Okay. So if I go, can you see this stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, I can do, first I have to put my mouse in, oh, come on. Where am I? Over here. There we are. I have to put it in this, come on, in this terminal window. That activates it. So then I can come over and I've got W, F, A, and D. Click it. Here we go. And now I can tilt up and down. And I can go left and right.
I think your hand is in front of the camera, Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Yes, we see your desktop.
Okay, and then up and down. And so can you see the tilt and the pan?
Yeah, we saw it move. What did you have to do to get it to move?
I just pressed the keys. There's the W key to tilt up, the S key to tilt down.
Nice.
And the A key to pan left, and the D key to pan right. So that works. The other thing is I read someplace that depending on the motor controller that you use, you could run those RC signals into a motor controller. So I dug up the Sabertooth, I think it's 2x12 or whatever. So what I'll do is I'll literally unplug the servos. I can't do it one-handed. Just a minute. And I'll literally plug in the motor controller. There's one. And I'm using the same ports as I did with the servos. And of course, I can't see what I'm doing. There. Now, yesterday it worked. Oops, where am I? Oh, there's the camera. Nope. This way, right?
No, see,
You're getting warmer. Turn
Oh.
turn to the right and down. Boom, baby.
Okay. There. So now, in theory, and of course it isn't going to work. But yesterday I had it so, oh, my cursor is not in the window and triggered. That's why.
are we going to see the wheels on the robot turning?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to do. And now it doesn't work. Well, anyway, yesterday it worked.
So to sum that whole thing up, Bob is saying if you happen to have a motor controller that has an RC input on it,
Correct.
that's interchangeable with an RC servo. So
Yeah.
that's what he's pointing out right there. That if this had worked, you could have seen the wheels turning on his
Right.
robot when he types the keys.
And it's using the same code that drove the servos. So it's only 50 hertz. So I'm thinking I'll have to separate them and go with a higher frequency for the motors. And if I change frequencies, then I'd have to go to another PCA card.
But if your Sabertooth has an RC input control, that you want to run that at the RC frequencies. Your motor controller will pick whatever frequency it wants to run the motors. So don't go down that path you just said you were going to do. You want to treat that as an RC servo if your motor controller understands RC servo signals.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, maybe I thought I had it. Well, I did have it working this morning. I don't know why it's not working now. So
maybe your power's turned off on your robot.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Aha.
I turned the battery off. Duh.
Aha, he says.
Got to have some of those electrons flowing through there. I see a wheel moving on the right. No sound though, Bob.
Let's see, stop it. Oops. Okay. Can you see that?
I think you moved the camera too fast for us to see.
Oh, okay. How's that?
Now we can see a robot.
Okay. Now I'll press the keys. So the W key goes one way and I can step through it. And then to go back, hit the S key. They'll go to a dead stop and then hopefully the other way.
In the future, if you put a piece of tape on your wheel, we could see the wheel turning. Otherwise, it just kind of looks like a blurry wheel right now. So we'll take your word for it that that's actually turning.
So A and D is that one. And I can go to the dead stop and press the D.
Yeah, we can actually see the wheel turning now.
Okay. And now that's using the same code as the servo. So the angles would be different because on the camera, it's kind of a narrow pan and tilt. So I'm thinking maybe I could just come over and make some code just for the motors on the ports 3 and 4, but with the same code. And then that way I got to come up with a key sequence just to run the motors then. So that's about it.
Where did you get the code from, Bob?
Off of a YouTube. I'll have to dig it out. Let's see. It's called, maybe I did it. Links for sample code. Oh, it's called, oh, this sign is, yeah, it's Phaser Tech Tutorials. And this is a little comment, press the WSD keys for the servos. And it uses the SSH keyboard type of stuff. Let's see if I can go to it. Oh, oh no. I wiped it out. Maybe I'll just... No, I can't undo it for some reason.
I can probably reproduce that link and then post it on the description.
Yeah, I'll do that. So anyway.
And just another comment, you can see by that's Bob's flat screen television we're looking at. So you can see there's actually stuff is readable on that using it as a monitor. And on mine, what I call my second generation, the 1080p TV seems to give me reasonable text also on that. Now, if you got lots of money kicking around, you can buy a new 4K TV, and that'd be even a sharper image and a better image. But it's just the older second generation TVs seem to work just fine for doing this kind of thing.
Yep. Oh, and then one other thing, using NoMachine, I was able to see on the laptop what I'm seeing with the Raspberry Pi. Of course, I didn't refresh it soon enough. Whoops. Okay, there is that.
We're not seeing anything if you're intending.
No, not yet. I gotta. I'm trying to open up the laptop.
Okay.
Okay, I got the laptop open, and can you see the little Raspberry Pi icon?
We're not seeing any of your video.
Oh,
but back to the original problem we had where your camera. Okay, there. But we saw. Okay, we can see you now.
okay. How's that?
We're seeing your TV screen, part of it anyway.
No. Let's try this. I'll turn the camera around so I can see it too. Huh, doesn't want to do it. Well, I'll have to figure out something. Anyway, I can see what the Raspberry Pi can see on my laptop, and I can control. Oops, and I can control the Raspberry Pi. Not quite a garbage can, but Jeff, but just as bad. I'm using that as trying to hold it up. Maybe I could do it this way where I can see it.
That works too.
No, you can't see it very well. Oh, there it is.
I can tell it's a NoMachine screen.
Yeah, that's the icon for the Raspberry Pi. Now I'll launch it. Or I mean, connect it. And I have to go in as a request as a guest. It'll send a message to the Raspberry Pi. Send. So there's a message up in the upper right corner. Guess from the IP address of the laptop.
Lower the laptop, Bob. We're seeing
Okay.
the bottom of the laptop. We're seeing the bottom of the laptop.
Oh, okay. Up.
Lower.
Yep.
Down, 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 down.
The laptop down.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Still seeing the bottom of the laptop, Bob.
Um,
You don't have to stand up. Just tilt the laptop down
yeah.
towards the camera.
Oh, I have to authorize it first. Okay. And then there's several OKs I gotta click. Huh. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Just FYI, in NoMachine, there's a little
Yeah.
checkbox to don't do this again kind of thing.
Right. So now you're seeing what's on my TV monitor.
Nice.
So then I can just either use the mouse or the mouse on the laptop or a Bluetooth keyboard. So anyway, that's just last minute stuff. Not very rehearsed at all.
I have found now you can take the laptop to your most comfortable chair and mess around on your Raspberry Pi.
Yeah. The dogs start barking or whining if my wife and I are not in the same room. So now I'll be able to take the laptop down and Sam will be happy.
Whatever it takes, keep the dogs happy.
Yeah.
And speaking of Bluetooth keyboard, I'll have to take your lead on that and get me a Bluetooth keyboard, because that's one more reason I wouldn't have to tear my robot apart to hook cables, keyboard and mouse cables up to it. So
Yeah.
so that I need to get something like that it just plugs in and works.
So I got to get more practice at switching between here, there, and everywhere.
On that guest thing, Bob, logging in to your Raspberry Pi, I'm not sure why you're having to log in as guest. I mean, whatever is your primary account on your Raspberry Pi, you should be able to use that when you fire up NoMachine. So if your username is Bob, you can in NoMachine put Bob in and whatever your password is.
Okay, I'll give that some more. Try that again. I think I was getting mixed up on the names I should be using. That's why I went to the guest where it automatically finds the IP address.
Out of curiosity, when you installed your operating system on the Raspberry Pi, did you do auto login? Or do you always have to, when you're logging onto your Raspberry Pi on your TV, do you have to select the username and put in a password?
No, I don't.
Yeah, that
Well, the Pi is just Pi at Raspberry. So that's the username and the machine.
Yeah, forget NoMachine for a second. When you turn on your Pi and you've got it coming up on your big TV there, does it
Yeah,
does it come to the main menu, or do you have to enter your password?
I'll turn the power off and see what happens. I always leave it on. Okay, now I rebooted.
Usually takes about 45 seconds.
Yeah. So
Your camera's off again, by the way. I'm just curious
Yeah.
because I don't actually recall how NoMachine works if you have an auto login set on your Raspberry Pi. That's why I was just curious how you had
Yeah.
it set.
I would think those have nothing to do with each other. You know, the Raspberry Pi, when it comes up, it either comes up to the desktop immediately or it makes you log in. But if you're coming in from the outside world, it's just going to show you what's on the screen. I don't think it cares
Yeah,
unless there's some other login that you're talking about.
Okay. Well,
I'm just not sure why he's getting that guest thing.
yeah. I hit the button to turn it off and then hit it again to restart. And it comes up to the splash screen. So it's an automatic.
Well, back to the comment about the guest, I think he said he doesn't know the IP address. If you select guest, it will automatically find the IP address for you. So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's doing that.
Sure. So I'll have to give that one some more time to play around with and figure out what's going on. Well, that's it for me.
I'm all set, Jeff.
Also, last week I was saying, here, let me experiment for a moment to see what happens. Well, it turns out on Zoom, if I click the view at the top. So right now we're on gallery view, and if I click it to speaker view, when you go back and watch this recording, you'll see it switch to speaker view. And if I switch it back to gallery view, you can see it does that. But it turns out if I start changing the size of the screen or moving stuff around, it just records whatever the feed is going out. So there's some weird things about that too. So anybody that's trying to record stuff on Zoom, there you can go to great lengths and drag stuff around on the screen, but it's going to record what it wants to, except for the gallery view versus speaker view. And so that's something I realized after going back and watching it, that I kept thinking, well, if I move this here, move that there, and then it will show up on the video. Well, that's not what happens. So that's just another point I thought I'd bring up.
Okay.
And that's why I just randomly do these experiments to see what happens. So I guess that's, one more thing I was going to bring up. Back when we were talking about motor driver boards, Bob had bought a new one, and then Al was showing the one he had, and I've got some of those that Al had. When I was digging for stuff on that, they kept saying, well, take the board like Al has. It was like an IBT2, I think it was called, something like that, and take an RC servo and rip the guts out and hook the two together, and you can control your big motors from an RC signal. And I kept thinking, I'm going to try that, but of course, I got like 100 RC servos in a box labeled RC servos, but it's out in the storage units more, so I didn't have any. And the other day I was digging through something and I ran across an RC servo that I've already pre-taken apart. So if I just find that and wired the two things together, I could go try that. And that way you could, just by connecting the RC servo to the board, you automatically get a speed control that works from an RC input. And then if you take the pot off the little controller board and put that on the output of your motor, then you've now created a giant RC servo by doing that. Now, I don't know, it's probably tuned to that size of motor that's on that RC servo. So if you put, say, a power steering motor on it, it may act different enough that it may not be as controllable as you would like. So that's something else. If I just grab my parts and hook them together and try it, I could maybe get an idea of what that's going to do.
What's the component that you're taking off the little servo?
Well, and inside the servo, it's got the little driver board that connects to the motor and connects to the pot inside. Well, you just simply disconnect the motor and you take the two leads from the controller board, hook them up to the input of your motor driver board, and that gives you control of the forward and backward direction of the thing. And then so you get to that point, then what you have to do, you have to turn the little pot that's on that board and turn it and center it out so the motor stops turning. So as long as you're not giving it a, say you've got a radio control transmitter that got spring returned to 0. Well, then at that point, that's your 0 reference. So you turn it on, your motor is going to be turning one way there, turn the little pot on the board until the thing slows down, and comes to a stop. And that's the amount of calibration you have to do on the thing. And then at that point, it should just work as a speed controller, an RC speed controller. But if you want to turn that into turn your big motor into an actual RC servo, you put a pot on the motor, which I think this is only going to work if you have gear reduction on the motor, because you don't want a motor that can turn at 5,000 RPM as soon as you look at it. So you want it so it slows, like the power steering motors off the cars. Those are geared down to the point where, that'll work just fine. So put a pot on the shaft of that and run those wires back to your controller board. And now it's going to work like an RC servo. As you move your joystick back and forth, your giant motor should follow that. Now, how well that's going to perform, going from a small motor to a big motor, that's something somebody have to experiment to find out what that does. But if nothing else, it's just worth the experiment to see, it looks like it's easy to do. And at that point, just determine if that's something that would be useful or not, and then move on from there. So if I get around to it, I'll try that. And that brought up the next question. Do you want to just simply ignore all the motor control and just simply generate an RC servo with your microcontroller and have it run this giant motor with that little servo board? And I kept thinking, well, I don't think that's what I'd want to do. I'd want to have, the actual control where your microcontroller reads the feedback pot and then generates the signals to run just a off-the-shelf motor driver board. I think you're going to be better off doing that. But that, again, that's another question. Does it make sense to do it one way or the other? And without having one in front of you to play with, you don't really know if that's going to work or not. Any more thoughts on that, or is that close enough?
No, I got a lot of homework to do.
Good for me.
Okay, I guess I'm done too. So see if I can hit the right button this time.